Hey everyone, I'm Vivi, and today I'm going over the differences between the books and the show of Heartstopper Part 2. So like I said in the first part, Season 1 was the first two books, but Season 2 was only the third one, which is fair enough. There weren't a lot of new things that weren't in the book though, so well, I have a lot to talk about. And there's also one thing I forgot to mention in the last video as well, so that as well. But anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so last time for some reason I totally forgot to mention Mr. Ajay, because he has a much bigger role in the show than he does in the books. Because in the books he works at Higgs, but in the show, I really prefer this by the way, he works at Prom, and he's always there for Charlie, because obviously as an older like LGBT individual, he like, it's kind of good for Charlie to look up to and, you know, confide in. So I really like that a lot. Although everything else with Mr. Farouk is basically the same, like his whole relationship with, did I say Mr. Farouk? I meant Mr. Ajay. But anyway, yeah, him and Mr. Farouk, their whole relationship's the exact same, so that's fine. I'm not gonna mention that, but that's the only difference. Yeah. Okay, they are mentioned in the books, but they're not really shown. But the exams, because obviously they're in high school, they take exams. Mr. Farouk, this is how we get introduced to him in the show, but he's like the one that's, I don't want to, what's the word? Leading the exams or eyeing them? I don't know. But he's the one that's like there making sure everyone does them. So yeah. And that's how we get introduced to him in the show. In the books, we don't meet him or Mr. Jai till the Paris trip. So that was quite cool to see. I like that. And also, Charlie's like, he's not taking exams, but he does have a report that he needs to finish that he's been distracted with because he keeps going to see Nick instead of doing his schoolwork, which, as someone who didn't finish school, I could not relate to that. So yeah. Also, the parents got a lot more screen time this time. Because in the books, like, Charlie and Nick's parents, they get like pretty much the exact same amount of time on screen as they do in the books, so that's fine, but we get to see a lot more of Tao's mom, which is nice. I love Tao's mom. Probably not as good as Nick's mom, but still. We also got to see Elle's parents, which was really nice, because we did not know anything about them, and it's good to know they're accepting of her. I kind of like that her parents are mixed race. I didn't expect that. We also got to see, I think we got to see Isaac's mom as well, so that was cool. I don't know if we got to see anyone else's parents, though. Did we see Ben's parents? I don't know. We saw, why did I keep forgetting their names? Tara's parents, well, her mom. That was cool. And then, I'm not even going to talk about Darcy's mom. It was mentioned in the books, but it wasn't, like, explored upon as it was in the show. And I didn't like it, so we're just going to scooch over her. Yeah. Also, James has a much bigger role in the show than he did in the books, because in the books, he's still in that scene at Tara's party when, like, people dare him to kiss Charlie, and he actually does secretly like Charlie in the books, it's implied. But in the show, he obviously has a much bigger role, because we get to see him a lot more. We actually saw him in the last episode of Season 1, when he says to Mr. Ajay, "Aren't you going to tell Nick Nelson to do the match?" And obviously Mr. Ajay's like, "Nah, I'm good." So yeah, James had a much bigger role. Obviously he had a crush on Isaac. Then he tried to kiss Isaac, but Isaac is ace, so Isaac doesn't feel anything towards him. I'm starting to realize how bunged up I sound, I'm sorry. And yeah, so that happened. And then we got to see him a little bit more at the prom as well. And he was just dancing, but that was kind of it. He got to hang out with the Paris squad a little bit though, which was really nice. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about James though. He was a fine character, and I'm glad I finally have my autistic gay character I've always wanted. So, yeah. Okay, Tao and Elle's first date. I really want to talk about this one. So, their first date, it didn't actually happen in the books, because they didn't kiss until Paris, and then that all happened the same. But, yeah, they didn't actually get together until Paris, but in the show, they obviously go on their cinema date, which was awkward. And then that's when, like, they think they shouldn't be together, and then obviously they get back together in Paris, and then all that happens the exact same way as it does in the book, so that's fine. And I'll talk about Elle's, like, art thing later on, because that's obviously different. But yeah, the first date, that didn't happen the way it did in the show, in the books. Okay, Elle's art exhibit, obviously that didn't happen in the books, and she got accepted into the art school, which she should really go to, because that's so much better for her, because there's people like her there, and no one will ever judge her for being trans, and it's, like, amazing. Yes, please go. You can still be friends with everyone and still be with Tao, it's fine, but please go. That's all I have to say. Anyway, she meets new friends who are not in the books at all. What are they called? I have their names here. Noemi and Felix, yeah. Noemi is trans, and I think Felix is non-binary. I also love the fact they're on a wheelchair. That was awesome. They are on a wheelchair in real life, because I saw the videos of them at Pride, but still, that's really cool. I really like that. I like her new friends. They're cool. I don't really know what else to say about them, because they haven't had much screen time, but it's good to have a non-binary character in the show now. The bonfire scene, that did not happen in the books. I think schools actually do that for some reason. I don't know, because I never finished it, like I said, but apparently like the students go on bonfires on like the last days of the year or something. I don't know. My friend who did finish school, because we went to the same school, she told me that they did have a bonfire, so yeah, they do. But anyway, yeah, the bonfire didn't happen, but I'm glad they put it in the show, because Nick's anxiety attack about people like judging him for being bisexual was done really well, and like obviously, like I said in my last video, that's how people actually do view bisexuals, as just cheaters. So I'm glad they added that. And that's obviously where Harry said shit as well, which was really funny to me for some reason. I know they had already said shit, because, you know, David had said it, but still. I'm still glad they got to swear in this season, which I won't be mentioning, because obviously, like I said in the last part of this, they weren't allowed to swear in season 1, but now they are, so we're fine. Okay, obviously this didn't happen in the books, because Imogen is an original character to the show, but she dated Ben. Wasn't that fun? And he was obviously toxic towards her. Probably not on the same level as he was to Charlie, for which, you know, at least Imogen's, like, safe, you know. But even then, Ben was obsessing over Charlie, always talking about him, and that's when it clicked in Imogen's head, which I'm kind of surprised it did, to be honest, let's face it. But, yeah, that was kind of, ew, that's all I have to say. I don't even know why Ben was doing it. It was like to hide, like, well, mask his, like, bisexuality. I think he's bisexual. Because that's why he was dating the girl before Imogen, who we never saw again. I don't know who she is. But still. I didn't like that. And I'm glad Imogen broke up with him right in front of everyone. That was done really well. Speaking of Ben, he sure did have a bigger role this season. I hate Ben. You all know this. I do kind of understand where his character's coming from, but it doesn't excuse anything he did to Charlie. Like, he had way too much screen time in this season. I'm sorry, but he did. Alice, like, I love you, but why? Why, okay? Why are you giving screen time to this awful human being? Like, he got, and this didn't happen in the books, he got sat next to Nick in the exams, and then, because they kept talking about Charlie, Mr. Farouk sent them into a room, like, by themselves, and then they started arguing, and then Ben was saying to Nick, like, you're just as bad as me. I'm gonna win Charlie back. Charlie really loves me. He doesn't love you. What a dick. And then, obviously, at Paris, you know, he kept talking about Charlie to Imogen. And then he got dared to kiss Charlie at Tara's party, and then it was like, oh my god, just go away. And then, at Elle's art exhibit, I actually do like the scene from both perspectives. Ben apologizes to Charlie for everything he's done. It was really just to get him back. Like, I see what you're doing, Ben. And then, I don't want to mention this just yet, but Charlie gives Ben a little speech, and it basically just is that, I hope you become a better person, but I don't want to be there to see it. And then, that's when Nick and Charlie walk away. And then, this is true, by the way, this is going to happen. That's the last we're ever going to see of Ben. But, the last scene is, like, rainbow water comes out of the art exhibit, like it's waves. And they're about to touch Ben, but he just walks away just before they touch him. Like, he's rejecting the LGBT community. Like, he doesn't want to be part of it. And then he walks away, and then that's the last we're ever going to see of him, which, thank God. But, again, that's really great the way they showed that instead of telling us. And I loved it. And I especially loved it because it's the last we'll ever see of Ben. I do wish Sebastian Croft the best. He is an amazing actor, and I love him. But I don't want to see Ben again. Like, I know they're the same person, but, like, they're not at the same time. But, again, Alice, I love you, but Ben got way too much screen time this season, and you should have just not had him here. Like, I'm sorry. Because in the books, the last we ever see of him, like I said last time, is at Harry's party, and then that's it. He's mentioned a couple times, but that's about it. And then, yeah, it would have been better if he's done that. I'm sorry, but would have. Okay, this did happen in the books. When they're at Paris, Nick is trying to see his dad. But in the show, he actually does get to see his dad for a little while. Because in the books, his dad tells him that he's too busy and he can't see him. And then, obviously, Nick is upset about that. So, I actually am really glad they added that. I'm glad. Obviously, he still walked away because he's the worst dad in the world, let's face it. No, there are worse dads. But still, it was not nice, and he just clearly wasn't interested in his son at all. But, here's a change that I don't really like it. Like, actually, wait, on my notes I have it saved for a later part, so I'll tell you in a minute. Okay, I want to go back to Ben's apology, not about Ben, but about Charlie's speech, because the speech is actually from the books, but in the books it wasn't given to Ben, surprisingly. Which is weird, because it makes so much more sense being given to Ben. But actually, the speech is given to Harry in the books, because in the show, this still happens, by the way, Harry tries to get into Tara's party, and he apologizes to Nick and Charlie. And just a little quick thing that changed. In the books, he just apologizes to them for, like, no reason at all. But in the show, I actually like this better, because he gets partnered with Isaac for, like, a project they're doing at Paris. And Isaac's telling him why he shouldn't pick on people and why he should be nicer. And he actually takes what Isaac says in. So, that's nice. I like that. That feels better. But, again, the apology. So, it still happens. He knocks on Tara's room door and is like, can I come in your party? And then Tara's like, no, I don't want any homophobes. And then he's like, I invited you to my party. And then that's when Nick and Charlie go to the door. And then that's when he does the exact same apology. And in the books, that's when Charlie gives a speech to Harry. And so, but like, again, it doesn't really make sense like that. In the show, he just straight up says no when he closes the door, which was so funny. But I didn't expect it, because I thought he was going to do the speech. And then, a couple episodes later, Ben apologizes, and then there's Charlie's speech. They didn't waste it after all. But again, I liked it so much better to Ben. It makes more sense being delivered to Ben. So, thank you for doing that little change, Alice. That made more sense. Alright, back to the other thing I wanted to talk about about Nick's dad. About the dinner. Okay. So, I'm going to talk about it in the show first, because it's a spoiler. A really big spoiler. So, you know what? Skip ahead to, we'll just say, I'll put a timestamp somewhere. So just skip to there if you do not want to be spoiled, because this is a massive spoiler that you do not want to hear. It will literally ruin everything for you. So if you don't want to be spoiled, don't listen to it. But anyway, so in the show, when obviously Nick and David's dad comes to England, and he says, like, I'm going to have dinner with you, and then that's when Nick and David's mom invites Charlie's family, and I found that kind of weird. I found that really weird. And I didn't mind it, like, and then obviously all of it still happens the exact same way in the books. You know, David's about to tell their dad that he's bi, and then that's when Nick spurts out, you know what, Dad, I don't care anymore. I'm bi, Charlie's gay, he's my boyfriend, I don't care what you think, I like who I am. And then all of it happens the exact same way, so I'm not mentioning that. But the biggest difference between the dinners and the books is that it doesn't happen there in the timeline. Because, as you all know, Charlie has an eating disorder. And, here are the spoilers, he goes to hospital for it. Because, when he tells his parents eventually, it gets worse. Okay? It gets really worse. And he starts, I can't say on the channel, but he starts doing the thing again. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about. He starts doing the thing again. So, he actually gets sent to hospital for his eating disorder, and that, for a few months. And that's when the books really start to get sad. So, I'm not looking forward to that in season 3. But, yeah, the dinner happens after Charlie gets back from hospital. And then, that's when, like, there's just one moment as well, before they walk into the house for dinner. Nick's like, are you sure you'll be okay with this? And then Charlie's like, yeah, me and my dad have a meal plan. Let me worry about you for a change, Nick. And I'm not gonna lie, I kinda wish they still saved the dinner for after Charlie comes back from hospital. Like, you could have still have him meet his dad in Paris. I love that. But then, just have the dinner happen after in season 3. You know, I just think that would have been so much better. Because, it just feels better in the books. Because, like, and in the show as well, Charlie doesn't finish his meal, and then that's when Nick starts Googling stuff about eating disorders. So, sure. But, again, that little moment, because of where it takes place in the show now, will never happen. And that makes me sad. Because that would have been so much better to have, like, you know? But, it's fine. Whatever. Alright, the last thing I want to talk about is the prom. The prom did not happen in the books. I mean, it probably did, but we didn't see it. The prom was cool. I do like that they just went home, though. Because, honestly, with the kind of people that they all are, it makes the most sense for them to go home. you know? And then they have a much better time at Nick's house than they would have at the prom anyway. So yeah, that was really nice. And obviously the stuff with Darcy and her mum, that was not shown at all in the books, and I'm glad they showed it. It was touched upon, like, Darcy did say she had a terrible home life in the books, but it was not shown to us, and it's way worse than I thought. But again, it was done really well and I loved it. I cannot wait to see that more expanded upon in season 3. It's gonna be heartbreaking, but it's gonna be exciting. Okay, hopefully that is everything, you know? I don't know if there's anything else. If there's anything else, please tell me, because, like, I don't remember. But that's where I'm going to end that video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and please like and subscribe. Like, please subscribe. I'm losing subscribers, and it's actually bringing my motivation down. It actually is, I'm being serious. But, anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye!